All right, good evening, folks. How's it going out there? Welcome back here to a Thursday night, Friday, right around the corner. So hang in there. Got the weekend coming up real soon. May 22nd, 2025 is the date. 11:04 p.m. That's California time here. Latest activity does show a little small earthquake, a little 0.8, not an 8 magnitude, but a little 0.8 across Northern California. Also, a little bit of larger movement stirring up here in the last hour around the Aleutian Trench and the northwestern corner here of the Pacific Plate. Things starting to move up here after a couple days of quietness. Got 5-pointers stirring up there around the Aleutian Trench of Alaska, 6 miles deep. Looks like that is the only earthquake in that area, but also some movement stirring up here about an hour or so later with a 4-pointer. And then some further movement over here across Japan. So things on the move out here across the northern and northwestern corner here of the Pacific Plate. Got to watch that pretty closely. Got things on the move out here. Cascadia subduction zone. Look at this little earthquake here. 1.5. Not a big earthquake, but it's in the location that I'm watching closely. That is the Cascadia subduction zone. About 23 miles deep underneath this area. Again, not a big earthquake, but it was looks like about 7 o'clock this morning. So this was added after the fact, after it took place here. So this earthquake was already had taken place prior to this morning's update. On that note, we better double check the tremor map out here this evening, see what we got. Still quite a bit down here across southern end of the Cascadia subduction zone. 436 epicenters of tremor along the Cascadia. It's been ramping up down here, folks. It's not fear mongering. It's funny because I seen a couple comments out here on the videos today that this is all fear mongering. How is producing the facts out here fear mongering? We can't do that. We can't go that route. Everyone's going to say something negative when it comes to producing scientific facts out here. Unfortunately, we live in that world right now where the naysayers are quite active out here. But if you look here in the last month, we're quite elevated as far as the Cascadia tremor goes, approaching almost 10,000 epicenters of tremor. That's a pretty significant event, something we haven't seen since probably, it's been a while. It's been at least a couple years or so. I don't even know if we've seen that back in 2022, but it's amplified right now. And when the Cascadia tremor is amplified, we need to watch the locked area. Obviously, that each day that goes by, the Cascadia tremor adds further strain upstream across the locked area. So the naysayers, they're running out of time, right? Oh, you're fear-mongering, you're fear-mongering, you're fear-mongering. Eventually, they're going to be quiet. And unfortunately, that means when there's a big earthquake that takes place out here. A couple of smaller earthquakes across Washington, Northern California, as I noted there, that one earthquake down into the Cascadia. Some further activity south. Looks like 2.7 and 1.5. Well, that 1.5 is up here, but nothing major going on there for now, folks. But you got to look at the statistics of, not statistics, but the numbers of counts out there as far as the Cascadia tremor goes, and it's quite elevated. And that's when I think something major is going to happen, when we got elevated tremor. The San Francisco area of Northern California has this is actually a little shocking because we have not seen any earthquake activity out here in quite a while. If you look here at the last 7 days, what do we got? A couple back on the 18th out here, but this is that's just not normal as far as daily activity goes there across the San Francisco area. So something is I think something's brewing out here. Something is locked, that's for sure, and gotta watch that closely. Further down into Southern California here, a handful of earthquakes, nothing big. The only earthquake here is across the Southern California area early this morning at 2.5 off of the little fault system out there along the Coast Range, but mostly smaller microquake activity out there. right now, at least in the last 24 hours. Nothing going on across Yellowstone National Park. Real quick glance here at the Yellowstone overview. Shows some wind and thunderstorm events earlier, but I'm really not seeing anything in terms of earthquake activity out there listed up on the map. Rest of the country, oil fields, you guys know it. A lot of earthquakes out there. That's going to happen, continue for a while. The eastern portion of the country, pretty quiet. Looking at the earthquake 3D globe here, you know, as far as the newer activity, got a lot going on here across the northern end of the Pacific Plate. Some movement, it looks like underneath North Island here, fairly deep earthquake, a 3.2 earthquake. Look at that. Well underneath North Island, about 157 kilometers deep. Another area that has not had any significant earthquake activity, release of strain here in quite a long time. That's the Hikurangi subduction zone. More than likely that's associated with the, you know, that subduction zone area, and that's building up further strain there with the those deeper earthquakes. The Taiwan area southward, you know, typical movement. You can look at this earthquake 3D globe on any given day, and this is the hot spot area where there's almost always consistent earthquake activity, and it's where pretty much where all the plates and whatnot tend to meet. I call it the crunch zone. That's I can't think of a better name for it. If you look at all the arrows here of the general plate movement here, it's all pointing to that area. That's undeniable. That's not fear-mongering. That's just undeniable scientific proof down there. Let's see what we got in the Mediterranean area. Following that 6-pointer from yesterday, a handful of earthquakes out there, 3s and 4s. But I do want to double check, see what we got there across the Santorini, Greece area. I know there's been a few videos floating around here on YouTube that 6.2 is a sign that the Naples area is going to pop. Well, that's a long ways away from the Naples area of Italy, the Campi Flegrei fields, right? Oh, man, I tell you what, people come up with anything these days. There is not anything that leads me to believe that this 6-pointer there from yesterday is in relation to the Campi Flegrei fields there. In fact, if you look in the last week, there's only been 1 or 2, 3, maybe earthquakes out there. It's crazy. It's close to it. Well, not really. It's more closer to the Santorini volcano than it is out there across that volcanic field. So, speaking of the Santorini area, there's the earthquake activity happening. Got about 122 events. No major uptick there across the area following that 6-pointer. We would see it. Most of the earthquake activity as far as aftershock sequences are there south of that 6-pointer that struck there yesterday. Let's take a look here. Atlantic Ocean, pretty quiet. Middle America, well, not the Middle America Trench, but it looks like southern area around Costa Rica, north of there, south into the South America area. Somewhat active there with a couple 5s stirring up. Some newer activity in between those 5s there, indicating the pressure that's building up in the region there. It's just very visual. It's hard to ignore the earthquake activity north and south with the immediate filling in, so to speak, of earthquake activity in that region. But man, there's that 5.2 up here. Let me see where that's at. It's west of the area that's been filling in up here recently with quite a few 4s along the Aleutian Trench. West of the area where the 8-pointer struck here a couple years back. But if you look at the last 30 days of 4.5 and above, it's in between a couple different swarm areas. So it makes sense here as one area of the Aleutian Trench sees an uptick to expect that to fill in, right? I mean, this whole area is subducted in the Aleutian Trench area, the Pacific Plate with the North American Plate interaction. So it makes sense to see this eventually fill in. And that's what we've seen here today from the last 30 days of earthquake activity. Not a whole lot further to the west here, so that may be an area to watch closely. The Kilauea Volcano. Let's go double check that real quick, see what we got for the activity there real quick. And deformation data shows that, wow, it's kind of interesting there. We're starting to level out. Are we in the eruption stage? Let me go double check. See what we got going on there. It's a little interesting activity. Looks like it's getting ready to. As far as the Kilauea Volcano goes, starting to light up out there across two of the vents. So we may see an eruption here very soon. Interesting, to watch that leveling out, because that is something that we have not really seen there in times past. Maybe back in the March time period there was something similar with an immediate eruption taking place there across the area. So we may be getting close there, folks, to seeing a volcanic eruption there across Kilauea Volcano. More than likely, with this type of inflation going on, leveling going on, it's getting very close to the eruption stage. So we'll check back on that in the morning there. I wouldn't doubt if that erupts here real soon. Is that 3.2 New Zealand? All right, let's check out space weather activity here real quick. Got some type of beautiful, absolutely beautiful filament eruption about ready to take off, it looks like, across the eastern limb of the sun. That, even if it were to blast off, definitely not located, or would not be positioned towards the Earth. So not really worried about that. As far as flaring activity goes, we're still way down there into the B flare category. Really not looking at anything significant going on as far as any major sunspots. If you were to twist my arm and make me pick a sunspot out here, I may want to watch this area down here. There's a little bit of complexity going on, but even so, 4097, there's not a whole lot going on as far as anything major goes. 4097 starting to flare out there a little bit, but it could maybe produce an M flare. Not looking at anything spectacular going on. As far as the far side here, I'll click this here real quick. This is 22nd, so that's good. Recent. There is a decent sunspot out here on the far side of the sun. This is the eastern limb, so the sunspots here will eventually travel here into the Earth-directed view. This is the Earth-facing side of the sun. 4097 down here, it looks like. But there is a massive area out there just beyond the eastern limb here of the sun that may bring solar flare activity back into the forecast. Right now it's fairly quiet. These guys are issuing a 5%. That is, I don't see it. I'm issuing a 1% or less. 25% chance is fairly reasonable for the M flare. C flare around 75% chance. That's something that you see in solar minimum there. The 5%, I just think Kevin hasn't got to it yet. So, and no major roars there in the forecast. Things pretty quiet out there, folks, as far as any major solar flares go. Quick glance at the storm reports out here for today. Mostly some hail and some wind reports out there across Texas and Oklahoma in your typical zones for this time of year. Really not expecting anything major out there over the next couple days. It looks like just a rinse and repeat cycle there across the southern plains as far as severe weather goes, at least into day outlook number 3. Nothing major in the forecast there. I'm currently offline. Why am I currently offline? Check this out. You are currently offline, or your network connection is having trouble. Well, it looks like I'm on there. What's going on there? How am I offline? Yeah, I'm offline. Okay, oh, goodness. They must be having some issues out there. That's the Tropical Tidbits page. it's a source there of some weather models, but it looks like they may be offline. So let's reverse that psychology because you are offline. All right. Let's see what else we got here, folks. Seismograph stations, they're pretty quiet. Not a whole lot going on there for now. And again, earthquake activity. Yeah, definitely an uptick here across the northern and northwestern area as well. And of course, the Cascadia subduction zone still amplified. Hard to say. Hard to say exactly what's going to happen. Just got to be prepared for some quiet zones. And unfortunately, San Francisco has been super duper quiet out there, and that's leading me to believe something may be close to popping out there. The Parkfield segment of the San Andreas Fault here, pretty quiet as well. That is soon to rupture, and I say that because there's regular intervals of large earthquakes that take place on that section of the plate boundary every 20 to 22 years, and the last 6-pointer was back in 2004. So we're coming up, and with the amount of strain down here across the southern end of the San Andreas Fault, that could ultimately trigger a domino effect there to produce that 8.1 that California is expecting down there. So just got to be prepared, folks. That's not fear-mongering. That is just the facts. Crazy, man. Everyone's got a say-so and everything, right? There's always a critic out there, and I'm open to positive critics out there. If there's something I could do better, yeah, obviously, or if there's something I'm saying wrong out here, maybe that's not correct, I'm open to that. But to produce the facts and what's going on out here in the plate tectonic world and to call it fear-mongering, well, unfortunately, I don't like to block a lot of people, but I did have to block that one person. Just I don't have any time for it, and a lot of folks there let me know that there was some issues going on there with a certain individual, so I went ahead and blocked him. But I appreciate it there when the positive folks there of the community speak up, let me know that there's some people out there that are not necessarily in the positive light of things out here. I'm not against the First Amendment out here. Obviously, I am pro First Amendment, but to say that something I'm doing out here is fear mongering, that's just, come on, give me a break. Iceland up there. I'm kind of wondering if Iceland's about ready to pop. It's been a little while since we've seen any eruption activity out there across Iceland. We've been going up and up and up since the last small eruption there across Iceland. Kind of migrated northward. A whole bunch of magma went way north and without an eruption. So that's why we dropped here across the Svartsengi area. But we're starting to go back up here. Looks like hard to say. We got a little distance there before we get up to that level previously seen across the Svartsengi area of Iceland, but may see that return here soon within the next month or so. All right, what else is there, folks? I think that's about it. Just be on guard, stay safe out there. As I say many times here, anything can happen at any given time. It's not fear-mongering, right? It's good to be prepared, because those that say fear-mongering are normally the ones that are left stranded out there, and you don't want to be stranded. You do not want to become a statistic out there. You want to be prepared, have an earthquake plan, make sure you know what to do out there in case of a big earthquake, because it can happen at any given time out here. It's just no one knows exactly when. So all right, I'm out of here, folks. Have yourself a good evening. Tomorrow is Friday, right? Friday, literally within 40 minutes or so for some. It's already Friday for quite a few folks out there across the East Coast. Have a good night. We'll see you guys out here for the Friday morning update, folks. Have a good one. Stay safe out there.